everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate you coming out to our NPAC for this meeting. This is one of those events that we are expecting a very large kindergarten class next year. We're projected to be about 288 kindergartners. So not knowing how many families would want to come out versus watch virtually versus watch the video later, we just don't have a spot at Oviatt for 300 plus parents. So we decided to hold this event here in our NPAC. So thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. If you did not, please make sure either on your way in or if you want to run and grab it now or if on your way out, make sure you grab a registration packet out front that has most of the documents that you would need as a part of the registration process, and then there's just a couple other helpful tools in there for you as you start to plan your year coming up here to send a kindergartner to Oviatt. So just to get started, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. This is a big transition and change for you, and we just want you to know at Oviatt, we are an early childhood building. This is really what we do, and so we are here to support the kids, but we're also here to support you through this process. So tonight, my goal was really to share kind of three main big areas. First, to just give you a little overview of Oviatt. For some of you, that's going to be familiar. I saw some parents walking in here tonight of children who are already at Oviatt. So you may be hearing some things you already know, but for those of you that have a first-time kindergartner or first-time child in Norwalk schools, this is all new information for you. So a little bit about Oviatt and our school. I'll also share kind of some tips from our kindergarten team about things that it would be super helpful for us if you supported your child in terms of transition and skills over the summer. I get a lot of emails and calls and questions from families just about concerns of, is my child ready for kindergarten? What does it mean to be ready for kindergarten? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And then the last part is really kind of the nitty-gritty of the registration process. So a lot of those details it's not very fun, I'm sorry you guys, but it's just one of those essential things that you do when you have a child in school. So I'll try to make that as painless as possible and answer any questions you may have about the registration process. So that's kind of my goal for tonight. If you have to get up and use a restroom or get up and leave or anything like that, that's totally fine. You're not going to offend me. The restrooms actually, if you need them, are just outside either of these two doors, kind of in the center of the auditorium space, so right behind this main center area. So feel free to get up and do what you need to do during this time. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So to begin, we work really hard at Oviatt to incorporate all of the great things that are a part of our Norwalk district in a way that for our children is very early childhood friendly. So for us, we incorporate the Warrior Way. If you have a young one at our school, you'll hear them talk a lot about the Warrior Way, and that's taking care of themselves, others in our school. And we do a lot of leadership and positive behavior teaching and reinforcement for all of our students. Go ahead to the next one. So this is our main office staff. I tried to, so many of you I met out coming in. I've exchanged emails with you or talked on the phone with you. So in here, I tried to include pictures of a lot of us, faces that maybe you haven't seen yet, but you've either heard our name or we've talked over the phone or over email. So these are our main office staff. Nicole Benegas is our assistant principal. She has a soccer playing daughter tonight. So she's up in Southeast Polk in a very windy environment right now. And then our two office ladies who frankly are going to be two people you kind of are lifelines to the school for you, and you will be talking to Miss Carol and Miss Beth probably weekly. They are in our front office. They are wonderful people. And initially, those are the people you're going to connect with quite a bit for early pickups or drop-off changes or questions about the lunch menu or all those sorts of things. Go ahead to the next one. We have an amazing team of kindergarten teachers. If you're counting the boxes up there, there will be 14 kindergarten teachers next year. We plan on 14 sections for about, like I said, 288 children. which is a very large number of kindergarten classes for one building. Many of our teachers have been with us a long time. We are adding 2 new kindergarten teachers to our team for next year. This year we have 13 sections and we have 1 teacher retiring, so we replaced that teacher, Mrs. Myers, for those of you that she's taught many, many years in Norwalk, and we are adding a 14th section. And so we have 2 new kindergarten teachers joining us next year. We're very excited about that. But these are a wonderful group of people who really know and love kindergarten. Go ahead. So a typical day in kindergarten, obviously, really the day encompasses about 3 major areas. So academically, obviously, we are, a lot of our day is literacy, followed by math. That is the biggest probably academic chunks of our day. We also do, and there are kindergarten standards in the state of Iowa for science and social studies. Your students will also have what we call a special every day. That will be on a rotating schedule, so they're on a 5-day rotation, essentially. They will have art, music, PE, library, STEM. And we also, on Wednesdays, have them attend a Leader in Me special, which is a little bit different and kind of outside of our schedule. But that's where we teach all of our kids that leadership education with the 7 habits. We also know in an early childhood building, you have to do a lot of teaching of social emotional skills and social emotional development. So I mentioned earlier, and you'll hear about it, we do, our approach in terms of teaching and reinforcing behavior is positive. So we teach positive behavior expectations and we reinforce positive behavior when we see it, because that is the most effective way to support young children as they learn. We call it the Warrior Way, and our kids get really excited. They earn Warrior Way tickets. Their classrooms can earn coins when their whole classroom is showing the Warrior Way. And they save up their tickets to be able to spend at our Warrior Way store every month. Pop-its seem to be the prize of choice right now. All children engage in Leader in Me, and we have a wonderful counselor named Mrs. Oliver, who I'll share a little bit about in a minute. She goes into all of our classrooms once every 2 weeks, and she teaches our counseling curriculum. And a lot of that is about building friendship skills, self-regulation strategies, how to name and identify emotions. So that is teaching all of our children get with our counselor. And then of course, there's the other parts of the day that are important in a kindergarten day as well. A lot of our children love to come eat breakfast first thing in the morning. When our doors open at 7:30, our cafeteria is open, and we have a lot of kids come eat breakfast. For a lot of them, we know it's breakfast number 2, which is just fine. We'd rather they have full bellies and be ready to learn. Obviously, we serve lunch, and all our classrooms still do serve a snack. I know that's a question a lot of families have and a concern they have, especially for kindergarten coming in, maybe used to being able to have a snack in the day. We do structure a snack in kindergarten and also in first grade for all children. In kindergarten, we start the year with 3 recesses, and really we maintain that 3rd recess for a good chunk of the year, especially during the sunnier, warmer times of day. We really believe that children have to get outside. They have to run, and there are a lot of skills they learn on the playground that in some cases are as important, if not more important, than the academic skills. And even in those cold winter times, we do a lot of brain breaks in the classroom. Go ahead. So this is our special staff. We have Mrs. McLaughlin is PE, Mrs. A is library, Mrs. Brandt is our art teacher, Mrs. Lathrop teaches STEM, and Miss Brown teaches music. They are a wonderful, wonderful group. They go above and beyond. They all also work together to teach our Leader in Me Wednesdays, and they really plan a lot of the fun events and run a lot of the fun events for our school. This fall, you'll likely be able to take part in our PTO Warrior Dash that we do every year. They're a huge part of planning that. They plan our field day, they plan assemblies for our children, lots of things. Our specials team goes well far and above beyond the content that they teach. Go ahead. So this is Mrs. Oliver, as I said. She will go into every classroom every other week. A lot of our families do choose to kind of connect with her. If you have an event going on in your home or just a personal change in the life of the child that you have concerns about, like how they might respond to that in a school setting, please feel free to reach out, not only to Mrs. Oliver, but to me. But Mrs. Oliver builds a lot of really important connections with families in that way. She meets with children in addition to her whole class teaching. She meets with small groups of students on a rotating basis, and she does also do some individual meetings with children one-on-one when that is needed. So please reach out to her if that is a support you feel would be of value to your child. Go ahead. Okay, so this next kind of part, I'm going to focus a little bit more and share some things, just some information that our kindergarten team put together to share with families. Think of it kind of like a wish list for them of some of the skills they'd love to see our incoming kindergartners practice and learn more about before they start school. So one message I want to make sure I'm really clear with, and that I think people carry a lot of worry about, is just this whole idea of readiness for kindergarten. And what I want to make sure all of you understand and know is that we really believe all kids can be ready for kindergarten with appropriate teaching, with reinforcement, with adult support, and they're going to get all of those things at Oviatt. So if that's a worry in your mind or in your heart, we set that to the side, because this is what we do, and we are happy to do it. We expect to have to teach social emotional skills as much as academics. These are 5-year-old small people. They have a lot of learning to do, and we know that, and that's part of what we expect to have to do and support with them. And we also understand that we're going to have kindergartners come to us reading, and we're going to have some kindergartners coming to us without a letter sound, and all of that's fine. Again, this is what we do. We know how to differentiate and support that for children in the classroom. So in terms of like your worry about some of that stuff, we want you to set aside. Now that being said, you're like, that's nice, Amy, but I still want to know what you want me to do and what kids really should know and be able to do. So we did provide, and our kindergarten teachers put this together, kind of a very general one-page checklist, and it's in your packet if you'd like it, of some of those kind of core academic skills. Some of them are friendship skills, some of them are social emotional skills, but just some of those things that we look for and hope to have, that children have had some exposure to before they start kindergarten. Go ahead to the next slide. So, interaction skills to practice to be ready for kindergarten. So these are things, as you're thinking about, here we are in the spring, the summer's hopefully upon us soon. These are just some things that while you're at the playground this summer and your kids are playing with friends, or you're at the pool, or you're at a friend's house and the kids are playing and the adults are together, these are things to start kind of looking at and checking out and reinforcing and supporting in your child's interaction with other children. And so some of those things are, is your child inviting friends to play? Do they have words or language to do that? When they're kind of tired of playing with a friend, how do they let that friend know? And how can you help them? How can we as adults help them know how to do that in a way that's safe and kind to others? Keeping hands and feet to themselves. This is one of those things that's kind of can be a tough thing for families and kids first in kindergarten. When you have lots and lots of kids swarming the playground, a lot of the early skills we're having to reinforce and teach are about keeping our hands and feet to ourselves and what does it mean to be safe at school. So if your child is one that you notice when they're playing with others, that's tough for them, really start to work with them on that skill. Sometimes it's a self-regulation skill, and sometimes it's just they lack the words. Really, they're trying to get someone's attention, or they want to ask a friend to play. Really try to help support their language in that. Taking turns following the rules of a game, fair play. A lot of times if a conflict reaches me from recess, it is coming from parts of a game that maybe we didn't like the ending, or some of us didn't like how it ended. So there's an element of that, of teaching and reinforcing, following the rules to a game, and being okay. Sometimes we lose a game, and that's okay. Sometimes our other friend wins, and that's okay too. With adult interactions, listening to and following multi-step directions. So something we found that was interesting this year was a lot of our kindergartners the first month of the year really struggled with words related to position. So obviously we're lining up a lot. We line up to go anywhere outside of the classroom. We line it up to come in from recess. They line up to go out to the bus. So there's lots of lining up. And a lot of our kindergartners didn't understand words like, okay, stand behind so-and-so, or you're going to have to move around this friend. So that might seem simple or silly, but making sure you're using some of those words with them. Helping them learn how to accept corrective feedback with a growth mindset. It's okay to make a mistake. Just because an adult gives you some feedback or asks you to do something a little differently, it's okay. That's part of growth and learning. And communicating needs with words and language. Go ahead to the next one. So independent skills are really important in kindergarten. So here's some things you can do at home that would help that transition. So when you're thinking about when you're leaving the home, having kids independently put on their shoes on their own, zip their coat, do they know how to pack a backpack? Getting in and out of the car places, are they able to buckle it and unbuckle themselves? Their seatbelt, do they know how to open the car door and maybe step out on their own, understanding, you know, they're not maybe independently going into a place on their own, but can they get in and out of the car and open the door and shut the door on their own? Some of those things, like for car line, are skills that we're trying to build independence with them in, so practicing them at home is very helpful to us. When they arrive at home, things like wiping their feet, putting away shoes and coat, maybe there's a routine spot in your house, you can start to build that routine with them. In our school, every time we come in, or, either from recess or to start the day, everyone washes their hands and does so independently, so making sure that's a skill they've maybe practiced and know how to do pretty well. Meal times, oh boy. The first month of kindergarten lunch, you guys, 288 kids. It is we have so many staff that support and teach this, and we get it running so smooth. But that first month for the kids is kind of anxiety inducing. Honestly, when we have open house experiences and when the kids are like talking to us at the beginning of the year about what they're most nervous about, it's like always lunch. Like it feels very big and overwhelming. So things you can do to practice that, how that might look. Have them start clearing their plate independently at home and dumping that. Our kids do, our kindergartners, they get all their own trays, they plate all their own food. Eventually they learn how to open all the containers, although we are still working on that. Man, Go-Gurts are like, I open a lot of Go-Gurts every day. And they also dump their trays. They get up, they pick up their own tray, we teach them how to close their milks, put all their trash on their tray, dump in the trash can, and then they go over to like our wash area and they stack it appropriately. So obviously you don't have an assembly line in your home when you're eating a meal, but if you can think about those little routines or things you can build at snack time or at dinner time that might help them practice some of those skills, that's going to help that anxiety for them as school starts. Opening packaging, as I said, I would say the hardest stuff are like fruit snacks, Go-Gurts, definitely the milk cartons, for sure. Those are probably the big ones. I'm looking at our Mrs. V, our nurse is here. I'm looking at her to see if she can give me a hint of anything else. Also, we do have once the kids sit down, they all have about 20 to 22 minutes to eat. It really is plenty of time for them to eat the amount of food that they have, but just knowing that is something we see early in the year, that sometimes I think the lunchroom and just the whole process of it is so overwhelming for kids that they kind of spend half a lunch like this and like looking at their neighbor's food. And so helping them, like when it's time to sit down and eat, we're going to sit down and eat. We're not going to be on our tablet or, you know, trying to help them learn how to get through their food. Otherwise, like they really struggle that first month getting enough food in their bellies before it's time for lunch to be done. And then self-care stuff. So like I said, hand washing is really big. Using the restroom unassisted. So we have seen more in the past year or two, just struggles with potty training, even in kindergarten. So really, really working on those skills. You know, and accidents do happen. Every kindergartner will have extra clothes in their backpack. That'll be something we tell you guys in the fall. Make sure you have extra clothes, because whether it's a recess mud puddle or an accident, you know, kids end up needing that. But even teaching them how, if an accident does happen, how to change themselves on their own, change clothes on their own in the bathroom. blowing their nose and then wiping their face. That first month of kindergarten lunch to walking out is like ketchup and ranch, like beards. So little stuff like that goes a long way. Okay, the next one. Okay, this is the last one. I know I feel like I'm kind of lecturing and I really don't mean to, but hopefully you guys are finding this helpful of some things that are really important for us. So the other big thing is really thinking about building children's stamina with wait time. You know, most children are not coming from a setting where there are 22 children and 1 or 2 adults in the room. So a hard transition for kindergartners is kind of having to wait your turn sometimes, and sometimes that's in line, sometimes that's to have an adult listen to what you want to say, kind of some of those things. And so you really can, wait time is a skill, and you can build it, and you can practice that at home. So even thinking about little things like, if your child's asking you, like, oh, I'm hungry, can I have a snack? Great, yeah, but we're gonna wait 15 minutes, so let's set a timer, and in 15 minutes, we can have that snack. Because of course, they're gonna have to get on that routine in the day in kindergarten. Waiting for a turn to speak, and if there are interruptions, feeling okay redirecting that. That is something we work on, you know, blurting and practicing waiting our turn to speak, and here's how you let a teacher know you have something you want to share. Like, those are all skills we work on. And then our kindergarten teachers use a lot of first then language. So when I say that, I mean things like, sure, you can get out your Legos, but first I need you to put away the coloring sheet and the crayons that you had out, and then you can play with your Legos. So really having them practice having something to do or accomplish before they get the thing that they want, if that makes sense. That helps build that stamina for wait time. Okay, next one. And this is a big one, and our kindergarten staff really wanted to make sure I talked through and shared this. So our children do have access to one-on-one devices in our school. This year, our kindergartners have iPads. Next year, they will have touchscreen Chromebooks. We're not going to be teaching keyboarding to kindergartners. I mean, they're primarily going to use that touchscreen, but they'll also have to navigate like the mouse pad a bit. But knowing that, and knowing that they have access to the technology, that is not the primary tool we use to teach in kindergarten, certainly. And one thing that we are noticing is leading to maybe some more somewhat developmental and behavioral struggles, or just struggling with coming off of too much screen time from home, or having trouble giving back the device or putting away the iPad for us when it's time to put it away. So these are just American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations about screen time. And so if you look in that 2 to kind of 5 year range, so you can kind of look at the 5 or the 6 year range, you know, really that 1 hour a day or less. One thing you can do to help us is really be mindful of either co-viewing, previewing content they may see, or co-viewing it, so watching with them. We've had a lot of children, you know, sometimes they'll ask to see Mrs. Oliver, and we find out they've seen something scary on a phone they've borrowed or an iPad that they've had, and something popped up on YouTube after the Wiggles or whatever, and it, you know, those can be kind of scary, confusing things for kids. So being mindful of that, avoiding fast-paced and violent content, and limiting or not having screens at meal times and about an hour before bed. There are children I talk to some days in the morning who, man, Mrs. Gage, I'm tired. Oh, why are you tired? When did you go to bed? Well, I was watching my iPad until really late. So things like that would be wonderful to set some boundaries and limits on to help support our kindergartners' development at school. I think that's my last kind of lecture screen. So now's registration. All right, so our registration process is entirely online. And there's a ton of links in the next few slides. I will email that out to the list I have, but also I'll put it on our school's Facebook page, so that you can have all of these links in one place, and you're not like searching our website for the 54 links you need to register a 5-year-old for school. So I will send this to all of you so you have it. But just know that our registration is all online. If that is tough, or like access to internet's tough, or you just really want help going through it the first time, Beth and Carol in our office would be happy to help you if you want to come in at any time. Carol will be in our office on Tuesdays and Thursdays all summer. So if it's summertime and you're like, I gotta upload my dental screening and I need some help or I need someone to scan it for me, just stop in the Oviatt office. They'd be happy to help you. Also, our district office has a kiosk area, and there's almost always someone right there available to help, and that's actually where our registrar is based out of as well. I do have a checklist on the front of this to try to help. It does feel like there's a lot of requirements and documents, and there really kind of are, but hopefully these are kind of like the big ones, the essentials that we need for you to be ready for kindergarten. There is a fees page in here as well. Once you register, you will get a link in your email to be able to pay your fees, and if you see on that page, if you pay early, there is a bit of a discount, which is kind of nice. So if you are able to take advantage of that, we welcome that. Go ahead to that next slide. Okay, so Mrs. V is here. Say hi, Mrs. V. She is wonderful. Her name is Varvis, in case you're looking at that and like, Verwers? No, it's Varvis. It took me a while to get that right, but our kids just call her Mrs. V, and they love her. So lots and lots of forms in the registration process for Mrs. V. And she is here, and I am here too when we're done if you guys have questions. I know a lot of the questions that parents most often have that they're nervous about relate to things Mrs. V can help you with or answer for you. So we are here for you for that. The big thing is, and I included the list of immunization. So we have to have that and this is a state law. We have to have that the immunizations before children can start on day one. And it happens every year. We have 1 or 2 kids that don't have that available or turned in, or they don't have, there are also exemptions you're able to do. There's a medical or a religious exemption, and I linked all that here. We need one or the other for them to start school on the first day of school. So please, please, please get that in. And you can turn that in as early as May 1st, and then you don't have to think about it again if you would like to do that. But that's a really big one. Dental and vision screening, we also need. Doctor's office and dentist's office are very accustomed to filling those out, obviously. So I just encourage you to go ahead and start to contact. Those forms are here. So if you want to go ahead and beat everybody else who's going to be late on sports physicals for their kids, because I am every year, go ahead and do that now if you would like to. So that is there for you. If you have a child who will need to have medicine administered at school, I did include that form for you too. And so what we mean by that would be like an EpiPen or an inhaler or a specific prescription medication. We do that, but Mrs. V needs you to turn in the form, and there'll be some things and some procedures she'll need to work with you individually on. Now that does not count for kind of the minor things listed there at the bottom. When you do online registration, there's going to be a little place you can check that says that you're okay with Tylenol, ibuprofen, Tums, and cough drops. Those are the 4, right? Okay, so you'll be able to do that in the registration process, but anything beyond that, we do need a form for. And our nurse school illness policies in there, and I gave you a printout of that as well. Essentially, when a child's sick, for them to return to school, they need to be symptom-free for 24 hours, and there's kind of our general guidelines. So the schools consider a fever 100.4, and they have to be free of vomiting, diarrhea, and all of that contagious stuff for 24 hours before they come back. And a lot of that, so honestly, we can stop the spread of that. We have recently, little bullet point number 2, there's been real bad at Oviatt the past couple weeks, which it typically is this time of year in the spring. So, okay, go ahead to the next one. So transportation, this is the thing. So if lunch is what scares kids, this is what scares you, right? Like sending your baby on a bus with big kids or with someone that you don't know driving all the way to school. So we have wonderful people in our transportation department. Carlos is our director. Arlene is probably the person you'll talk to the most. She kind of manages like the whole thing, what bus kids are on, what routes, if they need to change, all of that. So when you do online registration, it's going to ask if you want transportation. So there's 2 ways for your child to be on the bus. If you live outside of 2 miles from Oviatt, and there is a specific map for that, and I linked it in here when you have that. If you live more than 2 miles outside of Oviatt, you qualify for free busing and transportation. If you live within 2 miles of Oviatt, you can still be bused, but that is what's called pay for ride. So you pay a small fee, and it is in the fee schedule if you would like to see for transportation. either of those things, if you want them set up for the first day of school, you have to have all of that figured out by August 1st. And that is because our transportation department, with all of the buses and the literally thousands of children, we're gonna have over 3,000 children in our district next year and about 60% bus. So lots of kids ride the bus. So he has to start building routes those first couple weeks of August, because until he builds routes, he can't tell you what route your child's on. So that's kind of the why of the date. Sometimes people are frustrated. They feel like August 1st feels early, but really when you think about all that needs to happen to get kids where they need to be a couple weeks after that, we really do need that information by that time if you want it ready for the first day of school. If you don't have it turned in by that time and you're eligible for busing, you will still get busing, but it'll be after that first 2 weeks of school. Once those routes are run, then he goes back and makes adjustments that are needed for either pay for ride or for people who are eligible for busing. And if you have a change mid-year, there's a form you fill out on our website and do that. The last thing I say about busing is when you register online, it's going to only allow you to pick one location for AM and one location for PM. So that can be 2 different locations if you need it to be. But what you can't do is say, like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I want to drop off at here, and Thursday, Friday, I want them dropped off here, if that makes sense. So, okay, go ahead to the next one. Nutrition, so after you register, you will also be able to add money into RevTrack for your students' lunch account if you would like to. We have been so fortunate the past 2 years that through a grant, kind of as a result of the pandemic, our children have had breakfast and lunch for free for 2 years. It's been wonderful. I feel like we have so many more kids eating breakfast in the morning and eating our school lunch. Our nutrition director, Dee, is working on trying to get that extended into next year, which would be wonderful for our kids. I hope that is something we're able to do, but if not, we still have wonderful nutrition services. Breakfast is $2.05, lunch is $3. They can, like if they want to bring a cold lunch and just get milk, that's 50 cents. We have lots of kids who bring cold lunch and walk through and get chocolate milk or white milk, whichever one they want. We have like a hot lunch option every day, and then we always have like a deli sandwich option as well. So they do have a choice in what that lunch is. If you have a child who requires diet modification, so in other words, like maybe they have a gluten allergy or a peanut allergy, or like I feel like the only child on the planet with a corn allergy. I don't know what, I mean, my son in Iowa has a corn allergy. So I turn in a diet modification form for him because he can't have corn. So if you have a child with one of those things, you can fill out that form and give it to nutrition, and they are able to kind of customize some lunch trays for your child, which is wonderful. So I see lots of little gluten-free trays go through our lunchroom every day, and they do a really great job. The lunch ladies learn the kids real quick, and so the kids don't even have to ask. It's not even like an embarrassing thing for them. They just get their tray and go. So that we do have that form. And if you ever want to see like nutritional guidance or allergy info, there's an app you can look at any given day to see what's for lunch and what's in the lunches. All of that. Go ahead to the next slide. So, all right, so important dates coming up. May 1st, registration opens. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is for the earlier you register, the more you help us. The more you help us plan and prepare for transportation, for classroom assignments, for all of the things that we might need to support the kids that are coming in. So it would be wonderful if you all got in there and got this knocked out in May. That would really be wonderful for us. August 12th, classroom teacher assignments will be available. One of the things you'll create when you register is an Infinite Campus portal account. It's a parent portal account, and you'll have that account for the life of your child in Norwalk schools till the day they walk across stage for graduation. And that is where we share classroom assignments. So on August 12th, you'll be able to log into that app and see who your child's teacher is for the year, which is always a really kind of fun and exciting day. And we are working on our pre-service calendar right now, so we're planning our open house and meet the teacher night. I think we are looking at Thursday, August 18th, if I'm right. But obviously that's a date I will solidify and share with everyone. We have a really big, kind of expansive open house. We have essentially families are able to make like a 15-20 minute appointment with the teacher. And then we have lots of other events going on in the building. So you get to come in, really spend time with the teacher, ask all the questions you have, because you'll have tons of questions. The teachers almost always help the kids like learn the routine they're going to need when they first come on that first day. We have buses there, they can go on the bus, they can meet the bus driver, they can practice doing the seatbelt on the bus. We open the cafeteria, we give them little like pretend lunch cards, and they practice going through the lunch line, and they get goldfish and chocolate milk. So we do a lot on that open house day to make sure that you guys feel comfortable in the school and that the children feel comfortable in the school as well. We even have like photo areas set up so you can do like my first day pictures, and I'm a kindergartner, and kind of all the fun stuff you look forward to as a parent when you have a child who starts school. We will likely have some other events too. We may hold kind of another parent meeting as we get closer for kindergarten. I may do it in person, and I've thought about too just kind of doing segments of things that people want to know most about, like car line. I got to do the car line speech spiel, and kind of teaching people about how drop off and pick up work and all that kind of stuff, and just answering some of the questions about like that won't matter for you till August. Like, what do I do when my kid's sick? Who do I have to tell? When do I need to tell them by? How do I report that? Or kind of all of those detailed things that come up that if you're a first-time parent, you're going to be wondering about come August. So that's the last big. I think there's one more slide. That's it. So we just thank you so much. We feel so grateful to be able to be at Oviatt, to be able to do the work we do, to be able to serve the children we do, to be able to work with the wonderful families that we do. We are so excited for this group of children to come join us. They are just if you don't know already, they are the class of 2035, which makes us all feel very ancient. But we're really excited to welcome them to Oviatt. So I will stay as long as you need me to and answer whatever questions you have. If you don't want to ask them now, or you think of it later, email me anytime. Calling me is tough. I am never at my I'm never at my desk, so it's tough to reach me on the phone. But if you shoot me an email, I will get back to you. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of our staff, because we're here to support you. So thank you for coming tonight.